So we've all heard of love triangles, right?
Sadly, yes.
Have you heard of love triangles in the workplace?
Yes.
Right? Yeah, sadly, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a love square?
I haven't, but I feel like I'm about to, and I'm getting my coffee and putting some Baileys in it.
Right, exactly. Oh my God. So this is my first love square. But at a previous employer, God, get this hot goss, right? This is like some real water cooler shit right here. 4 employees. That's what makes it a square, obviously. They're sitting at the corners, right?
In case you didn't know.
A rhombus.
Exactly. A rhombus,
Hexagon.
right? I mean, a trapezoid. It's a love trapezoid. I don't know, pick a shape, but crazy. I mean, people are freaking tripping. They're crazy. So get this, all employees. One is the manager of the department. Okay. One is the manager of the department.
Already, I'm just like,
I know, exactly. He is having an affair with one of the employees on his team.
Okay, that's 2.
She is sitting outside his office. Next to her is her husband, who also works at the business in the same department.
Ooh,
Not the same team, same
that's-
department.
That's 3.
Like cubicle across from her. Okay. Just right there, plain sight.
fucking.
Well,
Nobody.
okay, the 4th. Who's
Nobody. Nobody. The 4th is the manager, his wife, the finance leader. So these 2, manager and employee, are having an affair. Their spouses are right there in the building. And everybody knows except them.
Wow.
Like it's a thing. Everyone's talking about it. You know what I mean? And it was a actual thing that was happening.
How did you learn about it?
Everyone was talking about it. And
goss.
of course, yeah, the
That's
water
right.
cooler.
People will
Oh,
run.
Yeah,
yeah.
that shit gets
We'll
around
run.
fast.
They're bringing it up, you know, and then you're watching behavior.
What are you going to do about this?
Oh, I know. Oh my God, what can you do? Oh gosh.
What are you going to do about these grown-ass adults' behavior, Leigh?
Oh, I know. Oh gosh. Well, I think I was moving or switching jobs at then, so I
Nothing.
got out of that. I know, so I ain't doing jack shit
Good
about
luck
it.
with that.
I know. I'm going to wish them well.
As many details as I can to use it on a podcast one day and potentially social media. But anything else?
Oh my gosh. Can you believe that though? That's
Wow.
brazen.
Yeah. Ugh.
Wow, with
That
him?
is brazen.
Also, think of like, why does everyone's spouse work there? what the hell?
Okay.
Well, it is. I mean, honestly, if people are working together, they're living together, it's a setup. It can be a problem to set up. Normally, you think they'd look elsewhere, but I guess if they're glancing
Oh,
across
God,
the cubicle,
no.
Someone's going to be looking really good if you're tired of your spouse.
Right.
My gosh. Well, I guess, or maybe the person that was married, maybe there was a power dynamic that her husband, if he was in a cube, but her boss had an office, then that level of power was very
You know what I'm
attractive
saying?
to her because having an office is the real prize in corporate. Oh,
Yeah. Well, those 2 got divorced. The cubies.
okay.
The wife that was having an affair, her
Yep.
husband, they got a divorce. I don't know what happened to the leaders.
It's probably for the best.
Oh, I know.
Well, you let us know after we record. We'll find out. We'll go. We'll dig in the family court records and
Exactly.
find
Like,
out
what happened there?
what we need.
I wonder if that's why. This is a really fucked up statement. But I wonder if that's why boomers want to go back into the office so they can have mistresses.
That's one theory.
Mistresses. That's quite the word. Okay. Okay, that's his option.
It's
That is-
powerful.
that's the answer on Family Feud. We'll see how many that
Exactly.
gets from the crowd.
Oh, isn't that
Enlightening.
fun? So the square, I had a square.
The square. I will say clearly the logistics of that and being able to manage that suggest a certain level of multitasking that probably worked out well enough for the organization to keep them all employed. So there
Exactly.
you go. The silver lining to that.
And that's some
Thundercloud,
shit. Oh
my
my God.
It's that time of the year. Your vacation is coming up. You can already hear the beach waves, feel the warm breeze, relax, and think about work. You really, really want it all to work out while you're away. Monday.com gives you and the team that peace of mind. When all work is on one platform and everyone's in sync, things just flow. Wherever you are, tap the banner to go to Monday.com.
Well, on that note, shall we kick off this meeting? All right. Well, let's do a quick run through of the agenda for today's meeting. Thank you so much for showing up to our recurring meeting here. But first things first, we're going to start out with some cringe corporate speak, and that's brought to us today by Ashley. Thank you in advance for taking that one on. Appreciate that. And then we are going to shift into our hot topic of today, which is all about how to be a great manager for new managers, right? So we get that question a lot. We have a lot of folks getting promoted, and that's badass. They reach out and they say, hey, I'm a new manager. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. How do I become a great manager? So we'll share some best practices, just some of our advice, right, in coaching leaders through our careers on that. So that should be a good one. I like that. I love coaching leaders. I know you two do as well. Ashley.
Jamie, do you have time for that today?
Hard stop.
Okay. So I'll start with the cringe corporate speak for this week. It is what it is. And where you tend to hear that is like something's gone on or it's out of somebody's hands. They can't do anything to change something. So they just look and say, it is what it is. And that means, it really means nothing.
Exactly. We ain't doing shit.
Yeah, it means nothing. But have you all heard this at work?
Yes.
Absolutely. And I say it sometimes. And I mean it as I ain't doing shit about this. I don't have time. I can't do it. Nothing's going to affect this. Like, hey, it just is what it is,
Yeah. Like, oh, hey, we fuck this up majorly, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Or a boss made a shit decision. There's nothing you can do about it. I guess it is what it is. We're fucked. Yeah. Do you use this, Ashley?
I do. And it is kind of it is kind of funny. Like someone said this to me once. They were like, why do people say, like, it's something relatively new to corporates, that they still have light in their eyes.
Yeah.
And, why would people say this? Well, but they're like, that doesn't mean anything. It is what it is. I'm like, it doesn't, but it is kind of the collegial, bonding with someone, being this is often when you're having to clean shit up and being like, it is what it is, and let's just move on.
You're acknowledging it, at least.
Yeah. That we ain't doing nothing.
Yeah. It's when shitty workplace situations feel seen because people are acknowledging that and, can't do anything about it. Or now we're going to have the hard work. And I would appreciate that more than the toxic positivity. Much better to be like, this is the situation.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Yeah. I prefer learned helplessness. Totally.
You choose what to do based on this situation, but it ain't going to be different unless we do something about it. And these are the very minimal things that we can do.
Now, how I don't use it is, well, this is how things have always been here. It is what it is. No. To me, it's a phrase of, I just ain't taking action. We're just fucked or whatever. There's nothing we can do about it, But I do hate it when people are like, well, it is what it is. That's how it's always been. No, not like that.
Yeah, no. That's how we've always done it. That's worked.
Exactly.
It's worked well. No. That's a great point. That's a very different situation and a good one to be mindful of.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you, Ashley. That is cringe. Oh, I love it. Well, shifting to our hot topic, I kicked off this episode talking about a bad performing, behaving manager. So definitely what not to do as a new manager is have affairs in the office with people on your team. So we can start there for sure. But hey, congrats if you're newly promoted or an early manager here in your career. How can we help you? Right? What are some of our best practices for new leaders? Ashley, you're an expert in this, I'd say. What do you think?
Well, it is. And I love when leaders are asking for this because frequently this is all I do now is manager training, and often for new, but even experienced leaders, because even the most experienced leaders, what you will hear, and you'll hear, especially HR people new to an organization, they look around and they'll say, we have people that were promoted because they were good at their jobs and they've never gotten training.
And it doesn't translate.
Yeah. And sometimes these people are first line managers, meaning they're just managing individual contributors, up through senior executives that have never gotten that training. And so when we hear new leaders asking for this and vocally asking for this, it's really important. And so it is good for HR teams to hear this. And the number one thing that I say is that can be helpful is to Stop and ask questions. And that can be your instincts when you come into this manager role. I think a lot of people have this fear of like, you need to know all the answers. You need to be perfect. You're like this tough boss. You're thinking about like maybe examples that you've seen. But if you really stop and think about it, probably the best leaders you've had have been ones. It's qualities like listening, caring, finding out about you. So how you can do that is going around and asking questions. And again, plug my always use for ChatGPT to go in and say, like, what are questions I should ask my team as a new manager? Like 99% of people would love for their manager, even if that's where you got those questions, like you're not perfect. And so using that as a resource can be really helpful. But it's basics, asking, like, tell me about your career today to your direct reports. What are your ideas? Like, what are you just asking open-ended and starting those conversations? Asking questions is so much more powerful than coming in and being the expert.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that, Ashley. I mean, I think it's so powerful when a leader says, I don't know, but we're going to figure it out together. It's okay. You do not have to be perfect at all, right? I mean, people just want to know that they have support through a process, not that you have answers to everything as the leader. In fact, they want to be part of the solution making. Right. So you don't have to come with all the answers all the time as a leader. So I think even just recognizing that is so powerful, especially for new leaders, right? No one's expecting perfection. They really aren't. This isn't the movies. This is real life. So you're going to get a lot more brownie points just being real and authentic with your team, right? Open and transparent.
It's always still like so shocking for me too, that how many companies don't have manager training in place. And it's insanely disappointing because I was lucky enough that early in my career, when I was with Marriott, I came in as like an HR generalist role, but I was quickly swept into the management program through Marriott, which is a very robust program. And so I've got years worth of management training that I still use to this day. But I was lucky enough to have that early in my career because I don't know if I didn't have that, what kind of leader I would be today. But it's just so shocking just working with different companies over the last few years and just not having anything in place. And like you said, Ashley, well, they were good at their job, but that doesn't necessarily equate into that they'll be a good leader. They did their job well. That's awesome. But we also need to give them the tools, the resources, and also teach them how to be a good manager or a leader. And that's why manager method is so powerful. And you are providing a resource to companies that doesn't exist some places. And I'm glad people recognize that enough that they reach out to you for that service.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, the reason I created what I do is, again, I've been in legal and HR, and I saw from being a lawyer, I saw in lawsuits, the vast majority of things in the complaint are like, my manager said this, they did that. Sometimes it's like shitty bosses that, need to get hauled into court. But oftentimes it's like saying things or treating people differently and creating this situation where, in an absence of information, people are like, well, this action must not have been about my performance. This must have been about my protected class, my race, my gender, my disability status, my family.
Retaliation.
Retaliation. And so some of this was like, there are basic things like, and I'll talk to managers and they'll show me examples of things. I'm like, well, yeah, this person was doing a shitty job. Why didn't you talk to them about it? Like, oh, well, I didn't want to be mean. I didn't know how to. Like, okay. And so then when I moved into HR and this issue of like helping people, like, do you know how to run a meeting, how to delegate and do that in ways that have accountability? Manage people that are your friends, manage poor performers. And so that's what I create. So I created Manager 101, which is designed to be like on-demand videos, but for organizations. So you can have your managers take this, but then I have toolkits for you to run follow-up sessions that's where you can customize it, drive it to life, like bring it to life. And so I have this for organizations, and shout out to people that have reached out to me because of the podcast. And so it's a whole package for organizations, but really the goal is because the number one thing I hear from every single call I ever have in HR is we have people that are promoted and they haven't gotten any training. And that's why I often say, like, you should have up through senior leadership, not just in, often it's unlimited. So you can choose who you enroll and who you don't want to enroll. But when you have senior leaders take the training, then that also helps with new managers. They go and they tell their family and friends, like, I'm taking the same training my CEO is taking. Or if you say, like, managers take this training, but the CEO is too busy, like, oh, okay. And so It's some of this is just these fundamentals that managers, you need to know and understand your role as a manager can bring liability to the company on the bad side. But on the good side, you can have really strong ripple effects on people's lives and who they are, how they perform at work, and how they live outside of work.
If you're like me, you're still trying to squeeze the last little bit of summer out. So, wherever those sunny days take you, a pair of sunglasses should always be within reach. With Pair Eyewear, you can switch from prescription frames to sunglasses for UV protection or polarization in a snap. I personally love how convenient sun tops are compared to carrying another pair of glasses. I keep my sun tops in my car and I switch them out with my outfit for the day. You can browse through top frames. I'm personally a huge fan of the mirror top frames right now. You can explore all the endless possibilities. And what the best part was for me was the virtual try on. You can browse frames for men, women, and children starting at $60. This summer, you can also set your kid at heart free and explore their new Mickey and Friends collections. They have a bunch of playful patterns and subtle nods to the iconic characters like Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, and so many more. Explore the new Mickey and Friends collections, find your style, and get 15% off your first pair by using code HRBesties at Pair Eyewear. Celebrate friendship and adventure this summer with Pair Eyewear. Go to paireyewear.com, use code HRBesties for 15% off your first pair, and mention that HRBesties sent you in your post-checkout survey to support us. That's Pair, P-A-I-R, eyewear.com, code HRBesties. Boys are gearing up to go back to school next week. Can you believe it? And soon they're not going to be able to just yell down the hallway, Mama, when they need something. I'm also going to need to coordinate pickups and after school practice. Plus, I need to make sure they're actually where they're supposed to be. And they'll want to message their friends, right? Because maybe they have a question about homework or Fortnite. And it makes sense that I want my kids to have the same tech as I do. But when I think about all the stuff that they could access on a smartphone, that's not good for them. That's why I want to tell you about Gab's back to school sale. Gab is the leader in safe smartphones and watches for kids, teens, and tweens. With no social media apps, no internet browser, and GPS tracking, Gab devices were built from the ground up specifically for kids and teens and are a way to keep your kids safely connected. And Gab phones and watches are still tech kids actually want. The Gab Music app for streaming clean music, and hundreds of third party apps that can be installed at parents' discretion. Kids also get unlimited talk and text with Gab Messenger, the first messaging and video calling app designed with kids' safety as the top priority. Gab Messenger blocks high-risk messages and content with nudity from ever reaching your child's phone. This app is an exclusive to Gab phones and has a parent companion app for easy controls and to keep parents informed. Other safe device options or parental controls let you know what's already been accessed, but Gab phones and watches are built with smart filtration that proactively blocks harmful content before it ever reaches your child. Gab actually just launched their latest phone, the Gab Phone 4 Pro, with even more features than ever before. I personally love the focus mode. You can set specific times and days that they are able to play on the phone or the watch. And it's super helpful for my kids to be able to focus during school hours. So, right when that bell rings, they have full access back to their device. That's why I really think Gab is a must have this year, and I can't recommend it enough that you and your family give it a try. So, do it now because right now Gab is offering a huge discount on phones and watches to new customers. The best part, there's no contract required. Just go to gab.com/HRBesties to get started. That's Gab, GABB.com/HRBesties. Gab.com/HRBesties. Terms and conditions apply.
The most fascinating thing to me, I'm an org behavior nerd, is that we know research-wise that people leave because of other people, and people typically leave because of their manager, right? Poor, unhealthy relationship with the manager, misalignment, whatever. So we know that the leaders, the managers are important. Right. We know they are very, very, very important and really create the employee experience for each and every individual employee. And yet Very few. I saw a study back in the day, but maybe like 5-10% of organizations have really unlocked the sauce on leadership development and manager training. Very few. So it's like people aren't investing, companies aren't investing in this space when, oh my God, that's why people are leaving. That's what actually drives the employee experience. And see, being a manager, being a leader isn't innate knowledge or intrinsic knowledge that we are all born with. It's much like parenting, right? There's no playbook for this shit until there is. You have to actually build it as an organization and provide that support and resource, because being a manager is very much so an art and science. There's real theory here. It's a thing, right? People spend their careers training on it, developing tools for it. Whatever, you have a business on it, Ashley, right? Like, I mean, this is a thing, that really takes a lot of support and guidance and expertise. And so an investment in this space is just, it's so key and critical, but it's a place that people miss. And so if you are a new manager, request and ask for that development and training. Hopefully it's in-house. If it's not, perhaps find something and ask for support from your leader to invest in you in that way, right? Because no one knows this shit. So don't sit in that new manager job and be like, how do I not know this? Everyone else seems to know this. They don't. They do not. They've been trained. It's experiential. It's on the job. It's formal training, education, whatever, right? But raise your hand and ask for those resources, because in no way should you be expected to know how to be a manager your first day. It just doesn't work like that, right?
While you're talking, I wanted to Google the exact percentage because I was curious, and it's 75% of workers voluntarily leave their jobs, did so because of their boss.
See?
People quit their jobs. They don't quit jobs, they quit their bosses. And that's from a study from Red Rock. So yeah, I mean, it's just such a simple thing that I feel like every company should have, or at least have a way to get to it.
Exactly.
I remember there's a study, I talked about this, I can't remember if we have on the podcast or not, but UKG did a study in 2023 that talked about the ripple effects of managers, and someone's direct manager has more of an impact on their health than their doctor or their therapist, roughly on par with their spouse or partner, if you have a spouse or partner. And it is because the manager creates that environment, and the way the manager, and there may be policies, there may be things, everything is coming through that lens, the voice of the manager. And that's what people think about. And so one of the things I think is really important for managers to know is your goals as a manager aren't just spreadsheet goals. They're not just financial goals. The people aspect of that is making sure that you are driving performance with empathy, which means getting things done the right way. So just thinking about situations. In every situation, questions you can ask yourself. Okay, if we hit this, are we going to burn people out? And having those conversations. And again, it's those questions to the team. So with even topics like if you have if you become a manager, let's say you have a manager and you have a team and that team has had conflict. Maybe you were part of it, maybe not. But talking as a team, so not just with the other managers, but talking about how do we move forward together? And I say that because when you get perspective from others, like I was leading a session for a team recently, and it was the whole team. And one of the things they talked about is there'd been a lot of change, and people saying there's been change, or like there's been conflict, maybe not with each other, but with other people. Like, what do you do to get past that? And someone spoke up. This was not a person in like senior management, this team. Someone spoke up and she's like, I don't know if this will resonate with anybody else, which your job as a manager is to let people know no one ever has to apologize for speaking up or qualify that as this may sound stupid. No, like give people that empowerment. But she spoke up, which is a kudos to this team's leader, and she said, I'll just say this quote from Jelly Roll that spoke with me. And people kind of laugh and we're like, but she's like, I know. She's like, the quote, she's like, there's a reason that the windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror. And I hadn't heard that before. And that's a quote from Jelly Roll. I don't know if he said that when he was winning like a CMA award. And a lot of his was talking about the struggles that he had. And his was a bit about professional success and looking like no matter what shit you've gone through, no matter what you've had to experience, like what is ahead of you is limitless. But you can also think about that. We were talking about that with conflict in the workplace. And she did this great, she's like, I just think about that of thinking like, I can't control things. There are things other people have done differently, things I would have done differently. But like, moving ahead. And that quote, I mean, people were like tearing up talking about that. I've now used that quote. I've made like YouTubes on it. I've used it in
Profound.
other sessions. And it's because someone who did not have a, big leadership title, but is a great professional, spoke up and said that. And so as a manager, just know some of the best contributions will come from people who may have never had a microphone within that team environment.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, I love that,
I love that too.
I knew you'd love that. I knew you'd love
Yeah,
that.
I
Jamie.
love
Shout out
that.
Jelly Roll and Bunny.
I know, that's such a mic drop.
They live in Nashville.
But man, for me, when I coach new leaders, I love to remind them something along the lines of what you just shared, that the performance of your team and your people is a reflection of your own success. There is no reason to be threatened. In fact, you want everyone else in the room smarter than you. That's what you want. You want to plug your team full of people that know the shit you do not know. That is how I hire. I hire for what I am not good at. I'm hire for what I do not know. And I want smarter people in the room than me so that I can learn. What I'm good at is leadership. I'm not good at knowing everything. Right? So I think the best managers get that and they aren't threatened. And that's a trap a lot of new leaders fall into because they were subject matter experts that got promoted and they still want to do everything. It's hard for them to delegate. They can feel a little threatened by other people now doing the work and other people doing the work in ways they would not have done the work, but that's okay. The work's still getting done, right? So chill. It can be, people do things differently.
It is what it is, guys.
It is what it is. But that's a big one, to not be threatened and really see that performance of your people as a reflection of your own abilities and success. Right? People be getting threatened, man. It's like, damn.
I know.
Part of it, I do think, is this: if you're good at your job, depending on what your job is, you may have been intrinsically or like encouraged to be competitive with your peers, be better than your peers. And so
Absolutely.
then all of a sudden, like, how do you teach someone to start from scratch? Like, I don't fucking know. I don't remember. That was a while ago. How do I coach someone who's not performing? Like, oh, just cut them loose. Like, okay, like those behaviors that it's really easy to understand why those happen. But just sitting and talking about things like feedback. Like when I was a lawyer, for example, I mean, law firms are notorious for like people rarely have any management training, but you're often lawyers managing lawyers. And so it's even thinking about feedback. Like I would write a long legal document, work my ass off for it. And I might see it on my chair with like red ink all over it and just changes, but I don't understand, why some of those changes were made. And so it's like anything, if you have talking to your team members and sitting down, give them feedback, ask, do you have questions about this? Let's talk about it. That conversation, which can feel overwhelming if you have a big team, but like have those conversations, that is an investment in time that will pay off dividends because then that person's going to come to you with questions. Everything will be easier and that ultimate work will be better.
I love that. Oh, gosh, there's so much in this space, right? But if your organization does not have manager training, shout out Manager Method. Ashley, plugging you here again.
Thank you. I tell you, Manager 101, I now have Manager 201, which is strategic, which a bunch of exercises and have organizational packages. So thank you all. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. God,
Yes.
do something though, right? Because again, your leaders are so important. You are so important if you're a manager. And I'll tell you, just the investment in training, oh my gosh, it is so profound and it is going to cost you way less than your attrition.
Yep.
It really is. And that cost of backfilling.
Yes, in your environment, that I know that saying, people say, okay, what if I invest in my people and they leave? Well, what if you don't and they stay? And I can't remember who says it. It's
love
so
that.
good. We'll put it on our Instagram when just,
Oh.
it is, that to me is very, and if you haven't heard that, like stop and think about that again. It's great.
Let it soak in. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
You're so,
God.
I tell you, both of you guys, I haven't gotten one since like second episode, and I don't. Now I'm not going to. I've delegated that task to the two of you. You're both good at that.
There you go. Just like a good manager would. Thank you. It's our expertise. Let us have it. Let us shine. Okay.
Employee data is important, and you know what else is important? Backing up that data. In the world of data loss, ransomware, you name it, you need to make sure you have a plan. And if you don't have one, then you should look at Backblaze. All those questions you may have. Wait, is it expensive? It's just $99 a year. How does it work? You get one admin console, and you can use it across multiple machines. They've restored over 55 billion files. Backblaze even has a service where you can restore a hard drive by mailing it in. Now, I personally know of businesses that have had the issue of, oh gosh, we forgot to back it up before sending it out. The cleanup on that was not fun. So seriously, back your stuff up. Sign up for a free trial to see why Backblaze is recommended by Inc. magazine. Go to backblaze.com/HRBesties. That's backblaze.com/HRBesties.
So some of you may know that I have a bunch of animals. 3 dogs, 2 cats, 3 fish, and a turtle, to be exact. And if you're a pet parent like me, you know about Chewy. And when they say they have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy, they're not messing around. To keep them happy, Chewy has over 100,000 products from all the brands my pets love at prices I love. Foods, treats, beds, you name it, they have it. And it gets shipped directly to your door in 1 to 2 days. And it's not just dogs and cats, birds, fish, reptiles, and more. To keep them healthy, Chewy offers pet prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and are even rolling out vet clinics across the country. Thanks to Chewy's auto ship feature, I'm never getting that "I'm so disappointed in you" look from my pet. I've set up reoccurring shipments of all my essentials we need, so I'm never running out, and I can change or cancel my auto ship order at any time. It's super convenient and one less thing I have to worry about. Speaking of not worrying, Chewy has top-tier 24/7 customer service. I can get expert advice over chat or the phone day or night. Plus, if my pet doesn't love something, Chewy's 100% satisfaction guarantee lets me return it within a year, no questions asked. I personally love the auto ship feature. It's been a huge time saver, but also just peace of mind that I'm not going to run out of my dog's food. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now, you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewy.com/HRBesties. That's chewy.com/HRBesties to save $20 off your first order with free shipping. Chewy.com/HRBesties. Minimum purchase is required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details.
So to that point, should we segue into some questions and comments? Any questions and comments?
I have one for you all. If you have a book or resource that you recommend for managers in particular.
Besides Manager Method?
Yeah, I mean,
I know. I'm
there, but
I'm going to plug y'all again.
I know, right?
Thank you. Yeah, Leigh's coaching.
I know.
Leigh's
My
book
future
coming out,
book
but-
coming out.
Yeah. But one that you think of?
Jamie's nothing. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know if I have a book per se, but I would strongly encourage anyone who is early on in their career to seek out in an employer that has manager training, or even in college. I know that, for instance, I had to have an internship to graduate. And so a lot of people went to Enterprise Car Rental because they had this back at the time. I don't know now, I can't speak on it, but they had this phenomenal manager training program. And so that would be my thing is do your research, ask questions in interviews, because it really helps you in throughout your career.
I have a book. It's called Lessons from the Drive-Thru by Monica Rothgary. So she was most recently the chief operating officer of KFC. We did not actually work together, but I now know her. But she had been in the military, and out of the military was recruited to Taco Bell. They were doing this program, and so she was a restaurant manager. But her book is all about lessons as a Taco Bell restaurant manager. And it is the best book on business I have read because it reads like a novel. It's really compelling, but it has lessons that you can bring to any industry. So shout out to Monica. It's a terrific, really terrific book. So we'll put it in the notes and the socials. Leigh?
Yeah, I'd say my number one resource is HR Besties podcast. I don't know if you've heard of it, but hrbesties.com or wherever you get your podcasts if you want to check that out. I've read a shit ton of business books. I love the various perspectives, and I can go read my shelf out here in the living room, but where I feel I learned the most, honestly, especially now in my career, are listening to people's real stories on the socials. I'm going to be honest with you, so I learn a lot that way, and I read into a lot of it. I kind of analyze it, right? Because y'all know I love my documentaries and I love my, all my org behavior, IO bullshit. And so that's where I learn a lot about kind of what leaders are doing out there, what they shouldn't be doing, like all the things, So I'm going to be honest with you. I do watch a lot of HR online in that sense and read a lot of articles and whatnot. So that's probably where I'm getting my most learnings nowadays.
I love that. Yeah, and we do. I mean, we all put a lot of time into putting things like things online, but the best feedback that we often get, I know we've all gotten it, is from people that say, like, I don't have a budget for these things, but like I watch and I feel like I learn. And
you do.
That's and I think there's us and other resources. Social media can be a fantastic place for it.
Mm-hmm.
Questions or comments?
I just have a quick comment. One thing I think from an HR perspective, I see a lot in managers is they forget that their employees are human and they also need some grace and some flexibility and some empathy. And I can't tell you how many times managers have come to me like flustered about something. Their child's sick again. Okay, it is what it is. Like they need to work from home today or whatever it is. Or, they got to work from home the first half of the day until their husband comes home or whatever it is. And like, I think managers are so quick to forget, well, their hours are X to X or they need to get this done. But, just remember as a manager, give your staff some grace.
Totally.
I love that.
In bad things in life, don't tend to happen at convenient times.
Exactly. Shit happens.
Tend to happen. And people also, when people go through seasons of life where they have those, and so don't always assume the worst. Well, I can't do any of this because they'll take advantage of me. Like you will, as a manager, you will get taken advantage of. But it's better to get stepped on a few times and deal with those separately. They tend to happen in other ways. But like showing that grace and space, spot on. Leigh?
Yeah, exactly. Address the 10% offline. You don't have to rule to that. I love that. Not a question, but a quick comment from me. What I'd say is for new managers out there, if you are concerned whether you're a good manager or not, if you are concerned that you are maybe a bad manager or whatnot, chances are you're a great one or you're becoming a great one. Why?
Yes.
Because you care. Right? It means so much to you to succeed at being a good manager. And again, being a manager isn't something that's innate knowledge that we all know. Like all things, you have to practice, learn, develop, try things on, experience. You have to get good at it. Right. Even LeBron James still does practice, y'all. I mean, that's how that works. And and leadership is a journey in that way. But again, if you're asking the question, am I a shit manager? Am I good? Am I this? Am I that? Gosh, you care. And chances are you're a great one because of that care.
Love that.
So keep leaning in, ask for that development, get some on your own if your company isn't sponsoring or paying for that. But it's important. If you feel like you're drowning as a new manager, you're just new, you're going to figure it out, but just keep working at it. No one knows this shit. They're just making it look easy, okay?
Rewind and listen to that like 6 times.
Exactly. Give yourself grace, too. You're an employee as well. Well, gosh, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining the meeting. I love that everyone was on time today. Thank you so much for that.
Jamie likes that we're off time. She's ready. Hard stop.
Exactly. Hard stop. Bye, besties.